In this session, we're going to be learning a little about the Hole Wizard. And Hole Wizard is found under the command managers for features. And over here we see the Hole Wizard on this. Now, what we're going to do is just do a simple Hole Wizard. We'll learn some of these other commands down the road about threading and stuff, but let's just work on the general Hole Wizard. Now, you can click on Hole Wizard and it's going to launch the application to apply a hole onto the part. Or I'm going to cancel it here. What I like to do is if I know I'm going to put holes on this surface, I'll usually click the surface and then do Hole Wizard. And then I can start putting the holes on there. Let's go back out of here and unselect that surface. If I didn't select that surface and I went in and hit Hole Wizard, later on we're going to have these tabs for positions and it's going to ask me to select the face for that part. And then I can now apply holes on that, as you can see. So whichever way you like to do it, whatever your preference, both work just fine. I'm going to hit the surface and hit Hole Wizard. Now inside of here, we've already talked the two tabs about type and position. Let's stay with type. And there's several little pictorials here of different types of holes. And when you hover over them, it'll tell you like that's a counter bore. So that might be if we want the head of a bolt to be recessed inside of a part, or if we want to come in here and do a countersunk, or if we're just going to do a hole, just drill simple through hole here. What I'd like to do is do a tapped hole, and that's going to be a straight tap. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to do an ANSI inch. We're going to do, now this tells us what kind of hole we're going to do. We're doing a tapped hole, we're using a bottoming, so is that hole going to not go all the way through and be a blind hole? Maybe we want to bottom tap it. I'm going to come through here and do a tapped hole on this. I can pick, again, it changed to, I accidentally hit my scroll wheel earlier and changed it to metric. So I'm going to go through and do a tapped hole. I'm going to come in here and say that I'd like to see some quarter 20 tapped holes on here. Quarter 20 is a quarter-inch nominal diameter with 20 threads per inch. That's a UNC thread. I'm going to go through all, or I could do blind or up to some point. Typically, we either see a blind hole, that's where the hole doesn't go all the way through, or I could say through all. So I'm going to say through all on this scenario and have the hole go all the way through. And then I'm going to come down here and look at some of the other options we have. We have with thread callout. I'm going to do the cosmetic thread here. So always have the cosmetic thread on with thread callout. That's going to allow us when we import it into a drawing to have the thread callout. I can also put what kind of class of thread I want. So I can change that. 2B, remember, is a general thread. So if you're in a company and they want the class of threads to show on their drawing designations, activate that from right there. Now what I want to do next is apply this to this surface, and I want to drill those and tap those holes. So I'm going to go to position, and I'm going to come in here, and again, I don't like the fact that I'm in an isometric view. I can hit spacebar. Well, let's go ahead and hit this first. I'm just going to put this first of all in one place and hit escape, and I'm going to go normal too so I can see normal to the surface. Now, anytime I put a hole on there and I kind of hit escape, I could have kept putting multiple holes in there as I went in position. A hole is indicated by the use of point. So if I use the point right here and I start applying holes, I can apply multiple holes in that part, just wherever I put a point. Now again, I would probably want to hit escape there. If I wanted to put a hole in there, I'd probably need to get an X and a Y location as to where that hole is going to be. So you can come in here and delete these holes as well. We're going to put one hole in there and use a linear pattern to put for several other holes in here. So I may want a hole here, a hole over here, and one here. And I can now have a pattern, and we're going to talk about how to pattern those holes. So once we've got this one hole drilled, we're going to give it an XY location on here because we're going to need that. I'm going to say that's 1/2 inch from there. And again, I can set the tolerances and everything I would want to capture my design intent. Here I have this, and I'm probably going to go 0.5 there as well. Now that's one hole that is in this part, and we're going to put some other holes in it down the road using a linear pattern. Now when I look at this, it's going to have the simplified type version where it has a hidden line on there, as well as if I zoom in here and get my monitor where it's got the right images on there because of the lights, you can see that it is looks like there's an actual cut thread in there. That is actually a JPEG feature inside there that is a scaled representation. That is a cosmic thread, and that's when we told you guys to set up our options, and we went to the document properties, and that's where we saved the detailing here as cosmic threads and shaded threads. So that was what we saved in our template, and that's how we can see that. We don't want to put a true helical cut in there because that's going to take a lot of processing time on there. Now once we have one hole in there, we may want a repeated feature where there's a hole here, here, and here, and maybe even another hole right here, but not one here. So we're going to come in and learn how to use a linear pattern to replicate the hole wizard hole that we did. And so this is also another new feature within the command manager for features. We're going to use a linear pattern. And we're going to click on linear pattern, and it's going to say direction 1. This is going to be direction 1. That might be like our x-axis. Okay. It's going to give us a dimension, how many instances we want to have this. But we probably need to come down here to features, and we're going to pick that hole, or you can expand your feature tree here, and I can say I want to do that hole. Now you notice there's two holes side by side. I can increase the size here and bring it on out and say I would like a hole maybe at 2.5 inches from this hole in this direction. I would like to see some other holes in the other direction. So I'm going to come in here and say in this direction, using this line here as a directional guide, I'm going to put 3 holes in here, and I'm going to stretch those out to 1 inch there, gap distances. So now I have 6 holes that would be drilled in here into this part, but I really don't want this hole right here to be drilled for some reason. One nice thing that we have is we have a instances to skip portion of this menu right here. And when you click on that, it's going to have a little blue box here, dialog box, that's basically wanting you to pick these nice little pink dots. If I pick that one, it now pops it over to here that was on the matrix grid, which one it was 2 and 2, and it's going to put it here. And if I delete that, it's going to draw it back over there. So I can actually tell it to not show, but to skip that one instances. So now I've repetitively created a linear pattern for repeating holes on there. Again, the key is to build your feature tree as you're doing these things. So you could have put all the locations of the holes in there, or you could use a linear pattern like I did. And if you notice, it has the dimensions for that linear pattern as well. So at this point, we have now shown you how to use the hole wizard and how to use a linear pattern.